pair of local nature organizations and more partnered to welcome the possible return of American white pelicans and other migrating birds to the Rock River Saturday. This is part of the third annual Pelican Fest in Rockton. The festival celebrates any kind of bird which may make a stop at Nygren Wetland Preserve on West Rockton Road. Guests were able to take a shuttle from the preserve to downtown Rockton as well, and booths featuring s'mores, face painting, and information about pelicans scattered Main Street.
It's a special thing that is around here. It makes a lot of sense to me that they would celebrate the pelicans and make that something to bring people into town. A lot of environmental organizations in the area like to participate in Pelican Fest.